wasn't a Christmas where I didn't believe in Santa Claus and get toys. There wasn't a time where I went hungry. You know what I mean? So we, when I say we, I can definitely speak for my brother, I'm sure, say that we had a great parental upbringing. Not without our complications. There was times when me and my dad butted heads, But,
it still happens. I mean, even on the Huxtables. Theo?
No question.
You know what I mean?
No question.
So these things happen.
We weren't quite the Huxtables, but it was, with nothing but love for my parents and the way that they raised us, for sure.
You felt loved.
Oh, for sure.
That's
for sure.
That's
Sometimes I didn't like the love they were giving me. They were too, you know what I'm saying? Like my dad would get on my case about stuff, or but
well, you mean just chastising you about certain things and whatnot?
Well, I think the thing is, and especially as a father now, I can use a new perspective in recalling the things that I went through, because I think
and that life is good.
It's interesting
crazy,
that way. It's like take this whole hip hop thing.
And it's
example.
like it seems like yesterday. Doesn't it seem like yesterday that you were a teen? Like looking at that video of you on the electric circus.
I still got boys. Most of my brethren are like my high school boys. So like we talk about high school like it was the other day.
Yeah.
And, like, snap of a finger, it's like today, like decades later.
It's crazy.
But I was gonna bring up the whole hip hop thing. That was an interesting thing for my parents to accept. You brought up Electric Circus. When I was on Electric Circus for the first time, I was 13 years old. I wasn't even in high school yet. It's in elementary school. So to them, they were very much on this, make sure you stick to your books and do well in school. This rap thing to them was like a side, whatever, you want to do it for fun, but like, do well in school.
Well, think about it back then. Come on, who's making money off of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Come on,
But what I'll tell you they did, even though I would like to say that this is a part of my personality anyways, they did encourage me to work hard. And I did well in school. Like I was practically a nerd. Mm-hmm. And what I always knew in the back of my mind that my goals were something that I wanted to accomplish without barriers. And I didn't want my poor grades to be a barrier to my parents being like, okay, fine, he's off to the studio now.
Give them an excuse.
So they had no excuse. I came home with the grades, so when I was in the studio or whatever, like I was putting myself in the studio.
So if they try to say anything, you say, just check my grades, yo.
You know what? Thankfully, it didn't become, that definitely didn't present an issue. And in fact, I can tell you that my dad especially really supported my love of music. Something that he did that I've now implemented as something that I do for my daughter is I would get report card gifts. And if I got a good report card, he'd be like, okay, let's go to the store. And I would always want to go to the record store. And he'd take me to the record store. And there were times I'd buy records. I didn't know I'd be like, I want the red one. I wouldn't even know what it was. But like my music collection, my vinyl collection kind of grew as a result of my dad buying me records because of
your dad is very wise.
Gifts,
you know why? It's unlike my dad. I openly talk about the relationship that I have with my dad, which is opposite of what you had.
Wow.
It was abusive and whatnot, physically abusive and so on and so forth. But I remember one particular time. It's funny you bring that up. We had a PTA meeting, and the teacher was like, "Oh, he's not doing his homework. You should,
Right.
give him some incentive to, encourage him."
Right.
And ignorantly, my dad, I remember I was like maybe like, I don't know, 13 or 12, and ignorant. My dad made a comment to the teacher, was like, "I'm not bribing him." It's like,
okay.
I was like, okay.
Well,
but
I get a bribe and an incentive is two different things.
yeah, but
I get.
But it's just
yeah.
You try to get your child to do something that's
and you're
gonna
right. It
help.
helped. It did help because I was like, I want a new record.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's the
sure.
carrot on the stick. I do it with my child right now with my boys.
Yeah,
Hey,
and that's what I
try
try
to
to
play video games. Bah, 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 bah.
Right.
You got to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely do that with my daughter. She knows that she can and will be rewarded for good behavior, for being... There's times, man, I just, brag about my little girl. She's been at... This was recently. We were at a birthday party for a 4-year-old. She got a loot bag, and she took something out of the loot bag, and another girl had looked in her loot bag and noticed that she didn't have the same thing as my daughter, and she got upset, and my daughter was like, "You can have it." And I loved that about her so much, and I took her aside and whispered in her ear, I'm like, "I'm so proud of you, honey. Like you're gonna get a treat tonight." So being generous and good to others, in addition to like doing well in school, like these are things that deserve to be rewarded, or at the very least, children need to know like
reinforce.
This is the way to go. That's the way to go. Yeah, because as much as you want to discipline a child for doing something wrong,
why don't we do
the
opposite?
The opposite for when they do something right.
Exactly.
Let them know that didn't go unnoticed.
Like we don't get into the whole Christmas thing. And my son was like asking me, "Hey, can we celebrate Christmas? I'm like, yo, man, we're not into this propaganda. And I'm like, and at the end of the day, what is it about Christmas? Oh, I'm gonna get gifts. I'm like, buddy, you get gifts all the time.
Yeah,
we buy you gifts all the time.
That's why
the same gift you get. Like
that's
Christmas.
why I make it a point to make sure she understands that Christmas or any other occasion where there's gift giving is about giving as well. Anytime there's like a food drive or toy drive, I always make sure it's when I have her that we go and deliver it, and she delivers it and she gives, and she likes to do it. So I love that. So far, that seems to be a part of her personality. She enjoys giving.
And you wonder why she gave that thing from the loot bag to the other.
Yeah, I love that.
You're setting those examples.
Well, thank you, man.
Thank you, bro. I do with my older daughter too. Like we've gone to shelters to feed the homeless and so on and so forth. So she knows what's up. My other children, my 2 young boys, they're gonna get those examples too. That
great, as they should.
Pay it forward.
Absolutely, man.
No matter what position you're in life, always pay it forward.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
No doubt, man.
But yeah, you already kind of touched on getting into the music. How did you get into hip hop? What was it?
I can pinpoint the actual day. It was June of '87. I was in grade 4. And my class, actually it was about 3 or 4 classes in grade 4 and 5 that went on a camping trip. So it was a school field trip to a camp called Camp Samak.
What school was this? What's the name of the school?
At the time I was in grade 4. The name of the school was St. Rene Goupil.
What is that?
A Catholic school in Scarborough.
Okay.
So
I'm in Scarborough too, you know.
Okay,
I'm familiar with
like Port Royal area. It's like by Brimley and Steeles-ish.
Okay.
Around that area. So, anyways, we go on this trip, man, and I was no good in nature in the forest, bro. I had asthma, and I had an asthma attack, and so there's a bunch of kids in the cabin, and we're supposed to be sleeping. It's nighttime now, and I'm coughing, bro, and I'm coughing, and I'm coughing, and I'm coughing, and no one can sleep because of my damn coughing. Okay, you know where the story's going. Somebody made the ridiculous decision to keep all of the kids' medication in one cabin with one teacher. So my puffer was not even in the cabin. Someone else had it in another cabin. So one of the kids was asked by the teacher in our cabin to go to the cabin, go wake up this teacher, go get my puffer. He had to go do that, came back, gave me the puffer, took it, I calmed down. But now everybody's awake. I couldn't tell you what time of night it was, but like you got a whole cabin of 10-year-olds all awake. And they're supposed to be asleep. So my teacher, Mr. Nash, I'll never forget, my grade 4 teacher, decided, and to this day, I don't know what made him think this was a good idea, but it changed my life. He's like, okay, everybody, I just want you back in bed. Everyone relax, chill out. I'm going to put on some music, all right? So don't talk and all that stuff. Just get in bed. I'll put on the music, and then we'll chill out, go to sleep, whatever. That was his intent. He put on the Beastie Boys' License to Ill album. Now, this isn't go-to-sleep music at all. But I was blown away because at the time I was like strictly like I was a Michael Jackson, like 80s pop rock, funk, soul, disco. Like I loved all of that. You name it.
Fire Young Cannibals.
That's what I grew up. That was more 90s. But I grew up on all that Duran, David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Hall & Oates, but definitely MJ. But the point was now I'm hearing this new. What is this? What is? I went and checked the tape. Beastie Boys, License to Ill. I think it might have been the day I got back from Camp Samak, a couple of days later. It was like a 3 or 4 day trip, and I found that tape. I bought the tape, and that turned into the first of what became a massive hip hop collection. If it was hip hop, I was buying it. There's a line in my track.
I can imagine the classic albums you have.
Oh yeah, because we're like this is '87
and the mixtapes.
Yeah, well at the time I was buying albums on cassette, so I had like Beastie Boys, Run DMC.